2010 was 15 years ago. Can you believe that? And you know what was big around that time? Nightcore. The simple act of speeding up a song and the pitch shift that resulted became a sensation. Now, I was a little late to the Nightcore trend, getting hooked closer to 2016, but that does not deny my nostalgia. Listening to Nightcore, trying to find what anime the video art was from, being disappointed when it was just video game art. These are all memories I hold dear. Sure, I might have more lasting memories I hold closer, but nostalgia is a funny thing. I don't get nostalgia from remembering the entirety of my anime era, just the moments my brain has picked out from a crowd of memories. And more recently, I have found myself revisiting the Nightcore I used to listen to so much. And I don't mean that in the sense of just going on a nostalgia trip. I mean that in terms of I've actually and unironically been listening to Nightcore in my daily life. I've essentially been reliving my 2016 Nightcore era. And honestly, it's given me a mixed bag of emotions. So let me tell you about my Nightcore era. And you can tell me about yours in the comments. As I alluded to earlier, I didn't start the Nightcore trend until around 2016. In fact, I didn't even start watching anime until that year. I was born in 2004, so I very well could have tried anime sooner. But I didn't. The reason I waited so long wasn't a parental thing or anything like it. It was entirely my decision. I waited for a reason that's probably all too familiar to some of you. Peer pressure. Except it wasn't the societal pressure telling me anime is weird. That wasn't it at all. It was the opposite of that. I had a friend who tried ridiculously hard for 2 years to get me into anime. That pressure of constantly nagging me about anime was exactly what stopped me from giving it a proper chance. Eventually, though, I did wind up watching Fairy Tail in 2016, and that started it all. Upon watching most of Fairy Tail, I started to branch out into other anime. Somewhere along the path, it became clear. I was hooked. Not only into the shows, but also the fandom around them. Before I knew it, Nightcore crossed my path, sending me deeper down the rabbit hole. So, we finally hit the topic of today's video. I mean it when I say Nightcore was an era of nostalgia. Have you ever been listening to a song with a key change and get chills when that key change hits? Like, going up in pitch to a new key just added to the energy of the song. Maybe it's just me, but I'm pretty sure there are plenty of others too. But, doesn't that sound familiar? I mean, key changes? Pitch? Nightcore. When someone creates a Nightcore version of a song, all they have to do is speed it up and keep the pitch increase. In essence, the entire song is now the key change. You might think that means it loses its effect, but think about it. Now there are 2 versions of the same song. There's the original, which in most cases has been heard prior to the Nightcore. Then there's the Nightcore edit, which keeps everything you love about the original, but makes it hit slightly harder. Because you get the mental comparison between the original and the Nightcore versions, that difference of key change hits just as hard. Add a 15-year time skip and those listening chills turn to deep nostalgia. But before we get to the present day, I want to cover one last topic still relevant in the 2010s. No matter where you look at the music industry, there's always been one pressing issue, and that's copyright. It's the same issue actually preventing me from playing any Nightcore in this video as examples. But that copyright was exactly what made Nightcore even more nostalgic, believe it or not. Think about it. If you Nightcore a song and it gets claimed, 90% of the time just the revenue gets claimed and the video stays up. I mean, some pop mega hits get taken down, but generally it's just revenue claims. So this meant there was no opportunity for profit with Nightcore. No profit kept the corporations away from the scene, making it entirely indie. This made Nightcore feel much more personal. You didn't know the person who made the video, but you shared a bond over anime girls and high-pitched music. That sounds really cringy out of context. But regardless, it's true. Think indie games and indie VTubers. Both could be attached to a corporation, but they feel much more approachable as an indie. Heck, they even feel more relatable. That's not to say corporate and creative industries is bad, because money makes the world go around after all. But if Nightcore could be monetized effectively, it likely would have turned into something much worse. That's one win for copyright with 4.8 million daily losses. With copyright keeping the companies mostly at bay, Nightcore was able to stay the nostalgic anime music we know it as. But remember what I said at the beginning of this video? And more recently, I have found myself revisiting the Nightcore I used to listen to so much. Yeah, it's time to cover that topic. It all started back in early February. I had recently gone to a local anime convention, my second convention I've ever been to. With anime being on my mind the days following it, Nightcore eventually came to mind as well. Then one day, while I drove to ship off a package, I thought a very horrifying thought. I bet listening to nostalgic Nightcore on the way back would be nice. And I did just that. I found a playlist on Spotify and vibed all the way home. But then something happened. I found myself looping one specific song all day. Having been addicted to this song, I did the unthinkable. I made a 2016 Nightcore nostalgia playlist. Now, 1 month later, Angel of Darkness is my most listened to song in the past 6 months. And number 24 of all time. But anyway, what has it been like having constant nostalgia for the past month? Well, first, let me say, I obviously didn't listen to this playlist exclusively. Additionally, this playlist does contain a couple of other non-Nightcore songs that still felt relevant to 2016 Yuki. But it is still 90% Nightcore songs. Honestly, this playlist has really been a mixed bag of emotions. The first few days kept me in a sort of constant state of reminiscence. Not quite enough to make me depressed, but listening to that era of my life as more than just a nostalgia trip came close. It probably didn't help that I was coming right off the heels of an anime convention either, though. Post-con depression is real, and no one can tell me otherwise. But the following few days switched it up a bit. Now, instead of just pure reminiscence, I was getting a ton of inspiration too. About this time, I started working on a different video script from this one, talking about the anime convention. Honestly though, I've got that project on the back burner now. It was just getting out of hand. 3,500 words out of hand. But if you saw my community post about the video, just know it's been put aside for now. However, working on that script was partially fueled by the Nightcore playlist's inspiration. After the first 10 days or so, things started to settle into normalcy. I was still feeling nostalgia while I listened, but I lost the temporary negative emotions that come as a bundle with nostalgia. I was still looping Angel of Darkness though, but now, after a month of listening to Nightcore unironically in 2025, I can safely say the nostalgia still hits on every listen. Honestly, if you have the same nostalgia I do for Nightcore, I recommend you try this too. It might leave you with some feelings the first couple days, but honestly, it still felt great to be reliving my Nightcore days. And with the nostalgia still not fading, that's something you don't have to risk. Plus, in 5 or 10 years' time, this may become your second Nightcore era to look back on with nostalgia. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you enjoyed our time together as much as I did, I would appreciate you liking the video. And if you want to see more, be sure to subscribe. But even just a like or comment helps the video more than you think. Anyway, thanks for being you, and I'll see you in the next one. And when that key change hits, gets chills, God, that's like a tongue twister. I'm just gonna edit that. God, that is, you get chills when that key change hits. Try it that way. Frick, why you lagging?